Welcome, everyone, to a very special Project Next. I am Sarah Blessing, and I'm with Zachary Parrish from Secular Education Association, and I'm with Rachel, who is a former LifeWise employee, and she did not leave happily. There's some stuff that's going on. We have done, Zach and I, and Molly too, we have done several shows about LifeWise with Project Next, all about what that this program is not what it seems to be. It seems to be this sweet Bible school, Jesus is kind, be like Jesus program that's offered in public education and in charter schools starting as young as age 4. It seems to be very sweet and loving and innocent, but it is not. The curriculum is not. It's very hidden, and also it's just not the main agenda of LifeWise. It's not that. It's not sweet, wonderful, loving Jesus. It's something else. And so we have an actual former volunteer who then became an employee, Rachel, and Rachel is going to tell us what her experience was with LifeWise and why it is not what it says it is, which is the main thing we're fighting here. The main thing Zach and Molly are fighting with Secular Education Association. This is not what they say they are, and they are taking our children, our young children, outside during the school day and teaching them things that most Americans do not agree with. Zachary, how are you? And then we'll introduce Rachel. How are you today?
I'm good. Glad to be here. Hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Yes. Oh man. I took like 11-day vacation, you guys, and went to Niagara Falls and Toronto, Concord, and Maine, Searsmont, Maine, and it was amazing. Feeling very blessed to have gotten to go on that trip with my kids. So yeah, thanks for asking. I hope you guys are having a good summer. Rachel, thank you
Yes.
so much for being on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into your amazing story. And I'm really thankful that you're willing to come on and speak the truth, speak your truth about what's going on so that we can protect as many kids as possible and
Yes.
and people that would be employees like you too.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing that I've talked with my attorney about recently. Even, we have to get this complaint filed because the more longer we don't file it, the more victims. My story is that, and I think what makes my story unique is just kind of the path that got me to be an employee. And the reason I know it's unique is because I started at one of the few after school programs that LifeWise has, which they deny that they have those. But I started with one of their earliest programs, and it was an after school program.
And when was this? When did you start working for them? And you're in Ohio.
In Ohio. I started volunteering for them in January of 2023.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And
a little over 3 years ago.
yes.
And how did you hear about this LifeWise and want to be involved with them?
So I was kind of looking for something for my kids that was just more than Sunday mornings in the community. And I had found a program similar to Awana, if you've ever heard of Awana. It's at a local church. And I had started going there part time. My church is meets in a YMCA, and so they only had Sundays. And that church had a number of people that volunteered for LifeWise. And so that was kind of how I had heard about them before that, because they had been in the school for a year and a half at that point. They started at the beginning of the school year, the opening back up after COVID, not that first fall of 2020, but the following one when things were a little more open. Um, and So in the fall of 2021, I'd heard of them, but we were busy with other activities. My daughter's a gymnast. And so it just wasn't convenient for us to be involved at all. And then I began going to that church just on Wednesday nights for their kids' services. And a lot of the folks there volunteered. So
And
when my
so did you hear good things about, so like LifeWise, like if you want to know more about LifeWise, we've done several other shows with Project Next. You can go back and get more into the detail, but LifeWise is a program that acts like it's providing Bible school for children that wouldn't normally go to church. Their parents aren't taking them to church. They send home a flyer it usually starts in kindergarten. They send home flyers to the kindergartners in the public or charter school, and the parents can sign up for LifeWise. And then the kids typically like the classes. The classes seem fun. They're given treats. Sometimes they're given prizes. They're also encouraged to get all of the kids in the class to go. But the curriculum of LifeWise is not so great, is one issue. And we've talked about that before. Most people don't agree with that curriculum. It's not the same as what maybe you're taught in your church. And then to see if your public school where your kids go, or your charter school where your kids go, has a LifeWise, you can look at the website that Zach has done, Zach and Molly, seculareducationassociation.org, and you can go to the map feature. Zach, take us through, because right now you can pause this, go to the website, and see if your school where your kids attend, if they're in the process of getting a LifeWise, because it's a 10-step program. Sorry to interrupt you, Rachel. I just realized
Oh,
we
you're
need to
fine.
explain this, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so Zach, take us through the website.
Yeah, it's
how do
real
we
simple. You
find
just
this?
go to seculareducationassociation.org, like Sarah said, and then right here at the top, we have the link to the actual map itself. If it wants to load.
Oh, and LifeWise program map, that's pretty easy. So you go right at the top, you find the map, click on it. So all the blue dots, what color dots are
Yeah, your
active?
gray dots are step 0, which means they're still collecting signatures. They don't have very many on gray. They have less than 10 signatures, because the first step is to collect 50 signatures. That's how they figure out if there's interest in the program within your community or not.
Okay.
So the gray dots are less than 10 signatures. The blue, they have less than 50. And then, yeah, like Sarah mentioned earlier, it's just kind of this 10-step program. The real big step that you need to pay attention to is step 6. That's when they approach the school board. That's the yellow step of there. And then step 10 is when the program goes live. Step 11 is when the program has been live for a while. It's what they call a mature program. It's been running for a couple of years. It's got financial stability. They've got enough money in their coffers to run 2 or 3 years. That's some of the qualifications to become step 11.
So we're still on step at my school. I look up my kid's school. We're still on collecting signatures for my kid's school, but then the other local school around here is much farther.
Yeah.
Were they
So
step
what
six or
when you pull
something?
your school up, what I know you told me before.
Yeah,
What
we pulled up Morgan, but pull up Corden, Corden Elementary. I
C
think that's the one that's farther. That's and it's
Am I spelling it right?
Corydon. And then so that was sort of alarming to find out that the local schools in Harrison County, they are in the process of getting one. And then we have a one at the
This one?
Greenville Elementary Public Education, real close to my house. That one has one. And then Floyd Knobs Elementary, close to my house, that one has one already. So they're popping up all around my area, and they're trying to get in my county as well.
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah,
so
you
you
can
looked
look
up
up individual schools like this. That's the actual elementary school itself. It's usually a little easier if you start with the district, because that's where the
Oh, okay.
signatures are tracked by. So yeah, you can see here the district. It looks like they're on what, step 6. So it
Yeah.
looks like they're approaching the school board now. You can see what step they're on up here at the top, step 6. So
So
yeah,
this is where you would want to get a hold of the school board members and let them know what the truth is about LifeWise. You can send school board members our shows that explain the dangers of this program, and hope that they will. I mean, they can't say no, right?
not
I
in
mean,
Indiana, right? But
they
they
can't
can't
say
put
no, but they
guardrails.
could say
They can
they
put
don't want
guardrails
to.
into their policy,
They
right?
can put guardrails in their
Right.
policy to protect the kids and the parents. Okay, so yeah. All
So yeah.
right. Thanks for showing that. So thank you for doing this work. I know you've spent hundreds of hours on this website, Zach, to let parents across the country know. So I just want to say thank you for
Yeah.
taking that time. As a parent, it really means a lot to me that you're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people think LifeWise is great. Rachel used to be one of them. She's hearing about it at her church. And I bet a lot of you people at your church, Rachel, are super sweet and wonderful. That's the thing
Yeah.
that makes me so angry. They take sweet, kind people and they kind of manipulate they kind of use some propaganda here, and I'm just sorry about that. So you're hearing about LifeWise. What kind of things are you hearing that makes you want to volunteer for them?
So I heard mostly positive things. I knew a lot of people that volunteered there. Um, I really hadn't heard a lot of negativity, except maybe just one particular case that was a kiddo that was on an IEP, and they just didn't have an aide to work with him um, that it worked very well. Um, and so that was unfortunate. But other than that, I had not heard any feedback that that was negative.
And
So
why did you want to do this? Like, what made you? Because you're taking your free time. You're a volunteer at first. What was your main goal out of doing this?
I think it was probably similar to a lot of people's goal is that you know, I love Jesus and I love children, and I really feel like just my background is a very long story, but I just feel like the hope that I have to have overcome some really difficult, challenging things that my own sister could not overcome. Her life ended tragically in
Oh,
suicide.
I'm so sorry, Rachel. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But that hope that I have comes from Jesus. And so the only thing that I can do to really help kids, especially being an educator and being in the schools and seeing that some of these kids are going home to trauma, not all, some kids have great homes, but there are a lot of children now that are going home to, trauma, and they're going home to homes where their parents just ignore them because they're like completely addicted to social media, and so they just put them on a tablet and ignore their child, just things that are not healthy. And so what could I do to help? And for me, that's sharing the hope that I have in Jesus. And I think that's what a lot of volunteers are there for. Maybe their story isn't the same as mine, but they know that love that they have inside of them, that they just want to share that kindness and belonging. Kids need belonging, and just some of those things. And so I think that that was the main
Yeah,
motive.
I
We
bet
talk,
you.
we talk about how LifeWise kind of preys on these well-meaning people, right?
Yes.
That is their exact sales pitch. Everything
Hmm.
that Rachel just described is how they come in and advertise themselves. They are the solution to these teen suicide rates, right? To this social media problem. All of those things are exact talking points that LifeWise is going to come in when they come into your church and say, "We can help. We have the solution for all of this."
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, they've got a real problem. We do need to do things to help our children, and public education is a way to reach a lot of them. And then you're getting well-meaning people like Rachel who love children and want to help, and then they're doing this program that is not actually doing what
Right.
what you thought. So, okay, so you start volunteering
Yeah.
for an after-school program that now they're saying they're denying they did? LifeWise is denying they
Oh,
did this?
well, yeah. I mean, in front of the in the House Bill 445 committee hearing, Joel Penton was asked by one of the representatives, "Why do you not work with schools to have before and after school programs?"
Yeah, that would be much I would like that much better if they weren't pulling kids out during the school
Yes.
day.
Yes. And
Okay, and is this in Ohio government or is this national government?
this is Ohio.
Okay.
Or House Bill 445, which ended up turning into a Senate Bill 8, I think.
It
Um,
was it was the mandate, just like Indiana had, where schools can
yeah,
no longer say no. It was just that proposed mandate at the time.
yeah. He testified like under oath and essentially just denied that they have after school programs. His answer was, "Well, we are not an after school program. We are a during school program." So he just kind of lied by omission in that circumstance. But in general, they
In my I would assume it's because you wanna get as many kids as possible, and the way to get as many kids as possible into LifeWise is to do it during the school day. If you had it before or after school, that would greatly reduce the number of children because a lot of the programming seems to consist of encouraging their friends to join LifeWise too, because there are a lot of times it's most of the class going.
right. So their
Right.
franchise fees, I later discovered this. Obviously, I didn't know this at the time, but their franchise fees are essentially like per student. So they get more money the more students that come. And in our
No,
app,
okay, that's I did not know about this money thing. So
yeah,
LifeWise gets money per child.
yes,
How is the where's the money coming from? Is a church doing this? Who's giving LifeWise money?
the community is giving them money. So a lot of churches, a lot of individual donors. There's also a lot of corporate donors, like Hobby Lobby is one of their corporate donors. Um, JP Morgan Chase has donated to them. I'm just trying to think of some off the top of my head, but there's um a lot of a lot of donors that donate at the top, but the fees that are charged to the local community are per student fees. And
Do you
so
know how much that was at
um
yours?
at
At the
ours, I believe it was $30 per student.
Okay. So I
Yes.
wonder, do you know, Zach, if these fees are the same everywhere or is it
Yeah,
different?
like I think they advertise like $30 per month to sponsor a student is what they try to collect from the community. I know what they actually pay up. Last I knew was $20 per student per year for the licensing of the curriculum itself. So that's the specific part of that. Is
And
the
so is
curriculum
LifeWise getting
license.
the money for the curriculum?
Yes, I mean, they're
Okay.
getting the money for all of it, right?
Okay.
That's kind of the thing here. This
So
all trickles up to the top, except of course, you can say that your director's salary that's going to stay in the community because your director's in the community, right? And I think the other piece of this is small business donations. There's a lot of local
Oh,
small businesses that donate too, especially when we're
oh.
talking about buses, transportation, just getting your bus wrapped. Even we see that happening, as an
So
in-kind donation
LifeWise
a
is
lot.
not paying. LifeWise is not giving money out to the buses, to the gas for the gas. They're
No,
not
that's all
providing
local
any of the
funding.
money. The community instead is paying per child, and the community has to come up with the money if the kids are being moved because they can't do it in the public school. They have to be moved to another location. So sometimes it's a church, sometimes it's a not safe location. Um, so I did not realize. So the community is having to pay for the gas, which of course is going to be more now since gas costs more. I did not fully comprehend, Zach, how LifeWise was making so much money. So they're getting paid per child,
I don't
and
know
then
why you
it's a
didn't get
burden
it.
on the
It's not like there's
community.
a ton of stuff.
What'd you say?
I don't know why you didn't get it. It's not like there's a ton of stuff to grasp.
It's so confusing. That is
It's
part
a
another
lot.
way you're able. So thanks for Rachel for explaining
yes,
that to me.
yes,
So I imagine these are good, wonderful, sweet people like yourself wanting to help that are helping to give money and then they're getting
yes,
local businesses and stuff. I bet the local businesses do not fully understand what LifeWise is doing. And so they think it sounds great. It's the lie that that's being pushed out about how great they are and what they're going to do to help save children. So that makes more sense to me. Okay, so you're a volunteer for an after-school program for LifeWise. Was it a similar curriculum to the in the school one?
yes. It is a similar curriculum, and I mean, it was the exact same one. But the curriculum has to be kind of edited each lesson by the teacher. And so when I would hear, we had an excellent teacher. When I would hear, I never heard anything that made alarm bells go off. But now that I've seen it from the teacher side, I know every week I edited the curriculum to be sound scripturally and to be um to kind of take some of that Christian nationalism out of it. I just didn't realize what I was editing out at the time, and
Yeah,
I
that
just
makes sense because it's in week by week little segments, and you're like, oh, I just won't include that part.
correct.
That's
Yep.
interesting. It's a little, it's a
And,
tiny beat of hope.
and
Hopefully, a lot
I
of people.
appreciate that, like, you had the opportunity to and the foresight to kind of edit that stuff out.
Mhm.
But I think that is also one of the major issues here. Whoever that teacher is, whatever their own interpretation is, it
Right.
doesn't matter that you have this predetermined curriculum. If each teacher has to take their own initiative and change that into their interpretation and their set of beliefs before providing it to the students, right? That could go an entirely different way than it did with you.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so so you taught there, and then how did the program change and all of a sudden start in the schools during the school day?
Actually, no, that program got canceled, which is
Okay.
another one of their lies that they love to tell. I just heard one of their regional directors, probably in February, maybe, so not just, but a few months ago, telling the same lie on a podcast that no programs have ever been canceled. And yeah, LifeWise, that program ran for 3 years, and then LifeWise canceled the program because our school board would not agree to have it during the day. So that was around the time that I was transitioning from being a volunteer and joined the leadership board of that community, trying to hopefully get it restarted, and then also became an employee in a neighboring community.
Okay, so after it ended, you were full on going to try to help get that program started again. So you're on a board. How
Yes,
many people were on this board trying to get LifeWise started?
4.
Okay, so there are 4 of you. And do you go through the 10 steps to get it started in that school, or?
So it was, since it was already started initially, we were obviously in step 10, and what LifeWise did was backtrack that program. I want to say they put us back to like step 4 or 5, to like present it to the school board or represent it to the superintendent. And so that's kind of where the leadership board was at that time, was trying to figure out how we were going to do that, how
How
we
were
were
you taught the 10 steps? I'm so fascinated by getting somebody that worked with LifeWise. So,
just by jumping in and like I think there was a couple videos that they have you watch, like their trainings that are video trainings that talk about the um I don't know if you've heard about them, Zach, probably I think it's 5 L's, the
Oh
location.
yeah.
One of the L's is loot, they call it, which is hilarious that they use that word, because it is like a word that is synonymous with robbery. But the L is the fundraising, and it's called loot. And so they have all these videos and trainings that you watch when you are on the leadership board. And
so
so
you're getting trained on those 10 steps. You're just doing step 1. Okay, step 2,
yeah,
and you know exactly what to do. They're doing a good job of getting that out. That's interesting. So
I
you've
have,
got this. Yes, Zach.
I have a question too. When you say there were 4 people on your leadership board, how many churches did they represent? Because that's one of the big selling points LifeWise has too. Oh, we have at least 3 churches on each leadership board. Was that the case for you?
at that time, we did have 5 initially, and we did have 3 churches represented, and then we lost one, and then it was only 2 churches that were represented. So we were trying to find another
Because
board member who could
yeah,
be
they
part.
act like it's this big general Christianity that most of the country follows, and they kind of put that out, but really it's sort of a very specific, more Christian nationalism type of Christianity, correct? And so you actually saw that, Rachel, in the teachings, because you're getting the curriculum. You were kind of weeding it out a little bit, not really knowing
Not
fully
really
their mission.
was Christian nationalism I was weeding out. I think when you're surrounded by it, you don't um and it kind of, I know this is hard to believe, like as somebody who maybe isn't in Christian nationalism, and also this is prior to our current administration, because now we have people saying the quiet part out loud. That didn't happen back then. And so the little bit of Christian nationalism I was getting on those Wednesday nights when my kids would go to this other church that I went to part-time, um, I just didn't pick up on, because with Christian nationalism, what they do is they have like, maybe 90% truth, and then they have lies sandwiched in with all the truth. And so, as a Christian growing up in the church, and you are and familiar with scripture, I mean, I spent time in the word myself, and so I would just miss some of those things they would sneak in. and
Yeah.
and now looking back, I can see, oh wow, that was Christian nationalism. But at the time, I didn't know that's what I was.
I think what you're
I
saying is so relevant and so similar to many other people struggling with the same things going on in their own churches. I went through my own journey as a teenager with youth group where I would be wrestling with, wait a minute, I don't agree with that statement right there, but I'm supposed to agree with everything. And I really wrestled. And it's not something you pick up right away. It takes some time to figure out when you start putting all of the little things together. You're like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought Jesus, represented.
Right.
So
Yeah. Like,
what were some of the things that concerned you that were picking up on? What were some of the curriculum that over time you're like, wait a minute, I don't think this is great?
my challenges with the curriculum were mainly just each week when I would edit it, I would always just find that it was poorly written. Um, thought writing so I just that was I didn't see so much the Christian nationalism then as like looking back because I was still very much in it, but I did have to edit it each week because it was poorly written or it wasn't scripturally accurate. And so I would take those pieces out that I felt like weren't scripturally accurate or um were just poorly written, and I
I
would
wonder what all the other teachers are doing because if they're poorly written, they're all either teaching it, maybe it doesn't make sense, or they're editing it, or they're figuring out what it meant and they're teaching it that way. But that right there is a concern to me,
Mhm.
regardless of the whole problem of it happening in public school during the public
Right.
school day, that the curriculum isn't written well.
Right.
So it's open to whoever's teaching it, which seems to be a problem. Like, yeah. Okay. So thanks for explaining that. Okay.
Yes.
So how long did it take to get, once the after school program closes, how
Mhm.
long did it take for you and the board to get one started in the school?
It's still not started. So it
Oh,
is still
okay.
a program lost.
Oh,
But they
okay.
but they lie about it on a regular basis, still to this day, saying they don't have any programs that have ever been lost.
They
So
also stopped the one in Decatur where they lost the child. Let's not forget about that one too.
yeah,
If we want to talk about programs lost and stopped dead in their tracks,
yeah.
Decatur still isn't up and running after they lost a child. So
They
That's
I didn't know that I didn't know they had closed. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the
they fired
benefit
the
of doing
director,
these
so it's kind of
shows.
hard to keep going when you don't have a director.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we do these Project Next shows about this. A few parents that find out what's going on in their school, you can do work to convince other parents to pull their kids out or to not do this program. So, we have a lot of control locally. If there's not enough kids to start that program, if everybody pulls out, you can
Hmm.
stop LifeWise. So
Correct.
in your local school. So that's a big reason why we keep doing these shows because we're going to have to do the hard work to protect our children here
Right.
until our laws change so that this isn't allowed.
Right.
Okay, so take us through how did you move from a volunteer to a paid position with
Okay.
LifeWise?
My program, I was already hearing from the director that there was a good chance that the program I volunteered for was going to be discontinued because of the fact that it was afternoon or after school and that LifeWise just wasn't willing to continue doing that because again they don't make as much money. And so I I just had really felt like a personal um I don't know what the word is, like a personal kind of tug on my heart that I wanted to do more um, for kids in my community. And so I was thinking about LifeWise. I had even gone so far as to get a letter from my pastor, like a letter of recommendation, which is the first step in working for LifeWise. But I just hadn't um, done that. And then my employer notified me in February of that year, which was 2024, that there was going to be a change in essentially in my location of my job because the contract at the school that I was working in was changing. So I was like, well, maybe this is a good time since I'm going to be changing locations either way. Maybe this is a good time for me to look at doing LifeWise. And so I applied and to a neighboring program in a neighboring community, and they had started yet. and went through the interview process with them and got on there as their teacher.
Okay, so you went to another school, a different area that was getting
Yes.
one. Okay,
Yes.
and so what year was this when they're hiring you?
This was my start date was June of 2024. I think I was hired and accepted in like March, April of that year, but my start date wasn't until we needed to be gearing up to get the program ready.
And then are they telling you they're going to pay you money? Like what take
Yeah.
me through the process here.
Yeah, I had a what appeared to be like an employment contract. Since this has happened, that I no longer am with them, their attorney now calls it an offer letter. But it looked just like the other employment contract I've ever seen, where it says what your job duties are and what your pay rate is. And so
And
it's
you're assuming this is a Christian organization that's trying to save kids. You're assuming that they're not trying to trick you.
correct,
You're assuming that they're all in this for the right reasons, the reasons you're in it.
correct,
So you're not taking that document that looks like a contract and taking it to a lawyer and having it checked because you're believing
right,
LifeWise and what they're telling you.
right.
So
Up to this point, I had been a volunteer in a program that had minimal conflict because, again, we were an afternoon program. So the only little bit of conflict we had there was whenever we would try to go during school hours. But it was kind of a happy bubble of a program because we didn't have a lot of conflict in our community. We didn't have a lot of, we just didn't
after
have
school
negative.
really changes. There's an after school Bible study at my kids' school now
Mm-hmm.
that my kids are not going to, and I don't have a problem. It's
Yeah.
after school. It's
Yeah.
not taking most of the class away while my kids are alone in a study hall as kindergartners or whatever when they should be learning math and
Right.
science and language arts. So I get why you were in an area where there wasn't conflict because it was
Right.
after school. I get
Yeah.
it. That's interesting. Okay, so do you sign a contract but it wasn't really a contract is what LifeWise is
Yes, that's
telling
what
you?
they're saying. I signed it. My boss had to sign it, but they are now saying it was merely an offer letter. So yeah, and it was supposed to be an hourly pay rate. And there wasn't a problem. I started. I will say there was a couple things that happened before I started. First, there was quite a bit of conflict in my own community trying to get LifeWise to become a during school program. I spoke at one of the school board meetings on behalf of LifeWise, and thankfully, I didn't really focus on LifeWise in that conversation. I really focused more on what was my motivation, which is the hope that I have. Um, and that was just a blessing to be able to look back at that and not have a lot of words of regret. But I did, in retrospect, because I had stood up for them so much, I did since then apologize to my community, or attempted to. It's just hard to get that word out.
That's really amazing of you.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful. I mean, you're clearly an incredible, wonderful person. It hurts my heart because you all are getting tricked to
Mm-hmm.
do this thing that seems to me a big reason for it is that they're making money off of it. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be. I
Yeah.
mean, so how much do you remember how much were they offering to pay you an hour?
It was only 15 an hour. I took a big pay cut to a big hourly pay cut because not only that, but it's a part-time role.
So it's
So
just a few hours.
right. So it's supposed to at the time and even since then with other um like what do you call like Zoom meetings that with the leadership board that they were trying to get the new program started, they advertise or communicate normally that it's about a 20-hour a week job, 15 to 20 hours a week, because you do have a lot of prep. You're just like any teacher, you're making copies um and prepping the lessons, and if you're doing any type of PowerPoint or Google slideshows, things like that. So you have prep time, just
And
like
you're saying they're paying for the prep time? You
yes,
can mark your hours, or they say they're paying for the prep time.
yes,
You can mark your hours. So are you doing this? Are you counting your hours up of
uh-huh.
your prep time?
I,
And was it about 20 a week?
it was 15 to 20 was the average.
Okay.
Um, And I want to say that when we were doing the startup, getting ready, it was a lot more than that. But that was a discussion I had with my manager, that over those like 6 weeks or so of summer before we started, that it could be more, as long as the average stayed under the company requirement, which was 29 a week. So I just made sure for that startup period that I stayed under the 29.
Okay. Did you ever get paid from LifeWise?
Yes, I did get paid.
Okay.
Yep.
And
so
then
everything going along fine. I had a couple of hiccups right before I started with them. Things that bothered me. One was that House bill committee hearing that I saw Joel basically.
So you saw a lie. You saw a lie, and you're like, wait a minute, I worked for that after school program, and they're denying that happened. So you're starting to have alarm bells go off. This is supposed to be a good Christian organization. You're supposed to tell the truth. Okay, so that's interesting. So that's one alarm bell for you. Okay, what's another one?
The other one was they had their state of the ministry that they do. I think they do it like twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. And it was after we had our director had sent out a letter, mailed it to all the parents, and posted it on Facebook for our community program and the one I volunteered in, saying we were canceled. And they came out on their state of the ministry. Steve Clifton, their CFO, said that 0 programs had been lost. And I knew about 200 kids who lost their program.
So another lie. Okay. So so they're not telling the truth about their own organization that they are in charge of. So second alarm bell goes off. Okay.
So the alarm bells were going off, but because I believed that this was a Christian organization, I kind of like made excuses to explain away.
I think that's very common for humans to do that. That's what we do. When we like a group, when we believe in the mission, we're gonna discount a couple warning signs. Yeah.
So like the no programs lost one, I said, well, maybe it's because we have another school board meeting coming up and someone was going to be presenting for LifeWise. So maybe they're waiting till after that. Like I would just make explanations in my mind of how it was.
Giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I start, and that was towards the end of June. And then we go into the very first annual summit that I would get to go to, which was that July. And
so this is a LifeWise annual summit for like employees of LifeWise.
Yes. And
where did you say it took place at?
That one was in Columbus, and they usually are, although I noticed this year's is going to be in Dayton, which is near me. But the annual summit, again, that lie came up. And I think it was Joel Penton that said at this time that no programs had been lost. And at this point, we are 3 weeks from school starting, and there's no program in the one I had volunteered in. And so I asked my director, how was this not lying? I asked her that night because we stayed in a hotel because of the commute for the summit.
Did you pay for the hotel, or did LifeWise pay for it?
LifeWise paid for it. Well, LifeWise corporate didn't pay for it. Our community program.
Oh, your community, more expense on the community. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. All right.
So, so I asked her, how is that not a lie? And she made up an excuse that it was because she said our program didn't count because we were not during school hours, we were after school. So that was her excuse. It wasn't a lie. So then a couple of weeks later, we needed a secondary teacher in our program because we were overflowing the classroom we were in for one of our grades. We had 4 different grades, and one of them was going to have 26 kids, and I think we had 24 chairs. And so they interviewed the teacher for that program, or for that overflow classroom. And it was somebody I recommended. And the very next morning, they interviewed her at, I don't know, maybe 6 the night before. The very next morning, I got a text message from my director, and she started asking me to falsify my timesheet in LifeWise's favor, like to lie and say that I wasn't working as many hours as I was working. And that was really weird. She was, the girl was like 21, 22. And at the time, I thought I thought that my director just was like, didn't know what she was doing and didn't realize what she was asking me to do was illegal. To falsify a time card, that's a legal document. You should not, um, even if it's in your employer's favor, that's still falsifying a legal document. So I thought maybe she just, the director was just not experienced in managing people and didn't know maybe HR law, Department of Labor law. Maybe she just wasn't familiar. And so I talked through it with her and just kind of explained, this is what we had talked about, and this is why these hours shouldn't be concerning. And she said, okay, let's just go with what we were doing before then, during that conversation. And over the next progressively like 6 to 8 weeks, it just, as the new teacher got trained and hired on and then trained, they just became more and more aggressive and more hostile about me putting in my hours accurately.
Do you think they were trying to get you to quit or work less so that did they want the other teacher who maybe wasn't going to be so,
I think they wanted to balance the budget, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
They now have two
yes,
teachers to pay for. They can't be paying them both 29 hours a week. I mean,
and
that would be my guess.
Is LifeWise paying your salary or is the community paying your
the
salary?
paying the salary. Yeah.
Sorry, I bleeped out. The community's paying your salary?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So LifeWise is not paying, they're making the community pay for this entire program, is what it sounds like to me. That is
Absolutely. Yeah.
bonkers. They're getting so much money per child, they're not reimbursing it and paying for the teacher salaries. I did not fully realize that.
It's all local pool. All the money is in a local fund for the local program, raised by the community for that community program. And then everything that isn't getting paid back to the teachers or transportation gets funneled up to corporate through having to buy supplies, through having to pay for the curriculum licensing, that type of thing.
Okay.
Yep.
See, this is frustrating to me because right now in 2026, everything is expensive. Gas is more
Yeah.
expensive. All items are more expensive. And this is usually LifeWise is being started up in communities where people are struggling. So we're asking people that are struggling, we're telling them our children need this for their mental health. Our children need this for their safety. And so people feel like it's really important and they're pumping out their money, which actually ends up hurting the community when they're losing their community money. So
Right.
this is frustrating to me hearing this for the first time. My heart goes out to these people that are trying to help. They're trying to do the right thing
Right.
through this program. So I'm frustrated for everybody involved. Yeah. Okay. So I did not realize. So yeah, the community is struggling paying your salary. And so it
Right.
seems like, and so they're putting pressure for you to not work so much. Um, and then they've got two teachers, like Zach said, they got two teachers to pay for now. So this is becoming a struggle for them.
Right.
Okay, keep going.
This part of the story is unique at all because we have seen like on glassdoor.com reviews and even some documents that have been found on like public records requests that other directors and other teachers are falsifying their time in LifeWise's favor. And LifeWise is well aware, and it's almost the expectation in order to balance the budget, as Zach said.
I wonder how many, I wonder how many other people like yourself, Rachel, are not getting paid. And then you just kind of say, well, this is to help children. This is to help the community. I'm just going to get over it. I'm going to do what I'm told. I bet there are so many other current
I think we've talked to about 6 people who used to work for LifeWise. I haven't got to build a relationship with any of them like I have with Rachel here. We've known each other and talked quite a bit over the past year or so. But I've talked to probably about 6 other LifeWise employees, and the money is always the number one thing that is cited for why they have left. The greed and the money. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's sad because there are corporate donors like Hobby Lobby and like JP Morgan Chase and all these donors that are donating millions of dollars and being told that it is to support the local programs, but nothing trickles down. It all goes the other direction. And so that I think is what makes it even more despicable is just the misrepresentation when which is, I mean, that's illegal for.
So people are, businesses that believe in the mission of LifeWise, which is what the
Mhm.
mission that you believed in, are giving lots of their money to try to help pay for these, but it's actually not funneling into the local communities like they say they are. That's very interesting. And
Mm.
it does show that one of the main focuses, it appears to be one of the main focuses, is for people at the top of LifeWise to make money. And that's not
Right.
how it's not being advertised of, hey, do this program so we can make some people wealthy.
Right.
So is that
And listen, I don't even know that it's the individuals themselves, because when you look at their salaries, they're
oh
not
yeah.
astronomical, but the company, it's making the company money, right? And part of this is when we talk about the money and all of this, when we talk about the local program funds, right? How the local community has to raise their own money, all that money is still being held in an account that is ran by LifeWise Corporate, right? You have to do this fundraising. LifeWise Corporate still holds that account, holds all that money for you. As a local program, you don't even get access to the 100%. You get access to a portion of that money that you have fundraised in your community. The rest of it, LifeWise will go and invest. And you get a portion of that investment, but you don't get all of that investment. You get a portion of even that investment. So they are just slicing off a piece of the pie every step of the way.
So what made you decide to leave LifeWise? What was the
So
final thing?
what happened was they explicitly, I think um the kind of straw that broke the camel's back for me, it was two things that happened within the same week. And the first one was that since we had Columbus Day as a school day off, and our program was a Monday program, so essentially there was like a 2 week gap between lessons. Um, and this was in the fall of 2024. Um, Hurricane Helene had just hit, and I decided to. There's a church that my kids and I would visit down there when we go down to Grandfather Mountain to go hiking, and so that church had gotten hit in the mudslide, so they had been completely flooded. Everything except their sanctuary, which was on their top floor, but their basement and all their classrooms and all these things had been flooded, and then the whole community around there had been, you know, deaths from drowning or being crushed in the mudslide. And then there were people lost everything. No one had power, and they wouldn't end up having power until like late October. Some of them had power out for 2 months. So like just needing to have warmth during the evenings. And so I asked before I left, I got all these friends and church members and all these people donated. I filled up my car like literally to where it was just safe enough to like see out the windows. It's pretty comical when I took pictures of it because it's so funny how full my car was. And I had to go to AAA and get like the old timey MapQuest, or not MapQuest, triptychs, because a bunch of roads were out and bridges were out and all of those things. And I was traveling to Helene, and I asked the coach, the program coach, which is a guy named Ron Retichier, and he's kind of high up and has the
Very
right.
high up. He's not kind of high up. He is high up.
He's very high up. He was the program coach, and I asked him to please get me t-shirts and blankets from the swag store to take with me from LifeWise to this church.
Like donate them.
Yes. And he came back and said, well, we're not going to donate because we are a para-church organization, and the churches in that community should be helping their community. Keep in mind, I'm going to a church that had tens, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. So they have lost everything too. How are they going to support their community when they have nothing?
They don't.
Have.
The program doesn't fund their own program. They make the
Right.
community do it. So now looking back, it's like, of course they were going to say that to you, because
Right.
that's not how they operate. That's not their business model. Their business model isn't actually helping communities. It isn't helping children, families, and churches that have been devastated from a hurricane. Their mission seems to be to
But
make
they'll
a profit in their
they'll
heart.
sponsor a Moms for Liberty conference. right? They can't donate to these people in need, but they have no problem sponsoring Moms for Liberty or the Wall Builders, right? It's
Right.
Yeah.
despicable. It's absolutely
And
disgusting.
you're still believing that they're good, and you're kind of, not listening to the little bad things that you've noticed, but it starts just that one really got to you with the
Yes.
other stuff. Was there
Yes.
anything else?
Yes. So that was the first thing that happened. And up to this point, like 6, 8 weeks, my boss has been kind of harassing me, making my work environment hostile about me putting in my time accurately. So I go on this trip. And while I'm on this trip, I got another email from her, essentially slashing my hours and telling me she doesn't want to pay me for the work that I'm doing. And I think that is those two things happening simultaneously, me seeing, okay, they claim they want to be to serve communities, but they literally won't even send t-shirts and blankets. They have a swag store. If you call it a swag store, you have money to spare. You could spare a few blankets and t-shirts for people who don't have the power to keep warm
Yes,
in the
it's very
night.
obvious that if they wanted to help the community, they could have easily helped the
Yeah.
community. But I don't think that's their
Yeah.
goal, in my
Yep.
opinion.
And then
That's not
that
the goal
email came.
of LifeWise, is not to help.
Correct. Yep. So then that email came from her while I was on the trip. And so when I got back, we had a sit down discussion where she explicitly said, we are only going to pay you for 2 hours of preparation. And I explicitly said, either you're going to pay me for all of the time I spend prepping, or you're going to find someone else to do it, because I will not lie on my timesheet. And less than 24 business hours later, that was a Friday night, and on Monday morning, I got a corrective. I think it was, I can't remember the exact word, some type of corrective for some made up stuff, representing them politically, I think
It
they
sounds
said.
like they're wanting you to leave, is what
Yeah.
it sounds like. They're not gonna
Yep.
make it nice for you. They're gonna put pressure. They're gonna highlight. I had a
Yep.
bad boss at my Catholic school for many years, and she was able to get a lot of people she didn't like to quit by just kind of being on them constantly and
Yep.
saying, "Look, you're doing this wrong and you're doing this wrong," and then yeah, and make it very not wonderful place to work.
Yeah, write me
So
up for some BS and watch how quick I walk out the door.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a
But
tactic that people use.
that's when I got an attorney. I actually didn't leave. I got an attorney. I asked for evidence of the claims they made, and they, instead of providing me evidence, they put me on a forced leave of absence, and took me away from my classroom. And so then the next several weeks was essentially they fired me over the next several weeks.
And it
But
makes me upset because you're someone that seems like a safe person to be teaching these classes to. You really believe in Jesus and in helping children. You're kind of making the curriculum that's confusing and a little weird better. You're the type of person that would be a good teacher. But they eventually fire you just for saying I should be paid my time that you told me you would pay me.
yeah,
So this is another concerning thing. Well, what types of people do they want teaching our children?
People that are
I
willing
don't
to
know
lie
what
on their
people
time
that will-
cards.
they want. People that lie. They want liars teaching the class, and that is the problem. And
yep,
then I don't know if you saw our last show, Rachel, but we did a show on the people that are accused of sex
yeah,
crimes against children. They were working for LifeWise. So
yes,
LifeWise is not doing a good job of what do you call it? Of recruiting, of
background,
going through and the transparent. They're not doing a good job of finding good quality people. It doesn't go through the school. The school system would find those people, or find most of them.
correct.
So you know,
I
there
did.
there seems to be some major red flags here.
Yes, and that was that was something that I feel like when that popped up, I know Zach posted something like funny about how imagine if people were speaking out about this and warning them about this, like sarcastically, because obviously C has been doing that for quite some time. But even in my own personal case, when I met with LifeWise for mediation about 6 months after they fired me, they wanted to pay me off to keep me quiet. And I said, I really am not interested in talking about money until we talk about your greedy policies. And I gave them a list of the policies that I wanted them to change. And one of them was the background check policy.
But I
Because
think we need to back up though. Hold on,
That's
because you're jumping right into remediation here. So I think we need to back up just a little bit because it went from,
you got
you
fired.
being pushed out. So yeah, let's get into, how you
This
got
is-
to mediation.
This is fascinating. Okay, so you get fired. Then
Yeah.
what happened?
So then I filed a complaint with Ohio Civil Rights Commission because the whole thing started less than 24 hours after they interviewed a 21-year-old, and I'm almost 50, and all of a sudden I have to start falsifying my time for them. And all of a sudden they start being hostile, and they rush her through training to get her trained. And so my attorney wanted me to file a complaint with Ohio Civil Rights Commission. So I did that.
Because your civil rights were violated. You weren't paid the time that you
Yes.
were
And
told you were going to be paid. Right.
Yeah. And then I also filed a complaint with the U.S. Department of Labor because of them violating timekeeping regulations by expecting me. And actually, that girl, that employee did confirm that she does falsify her time for them, and they are well aware. And so I filed a complaint with U.S. Department of Labor as well.
I would imagine a lot of these, there are more people like you out there, and I imagine some of them just signed the NDA and took some money. And that's why you're the first one that I know of that's telling this story. You'd rather not have the money. You'd rather let's shine a light on these issues and fix them. You'd like to get the issues fixed.
Yes.
I think LifeWise's reaction to the civil rights complaint is
yeah.
one of the most important parts of this story, right?
So how did they react once you file this, the civil right? Once this happens, how did LifeWise react?
Well, first, I had to provide all of my evidence to the investigator. So I did that. And then she reached out to them and said, hey, here's your deadline for when you have to provide evidence. So they had like maybe 2 weeks. And keep in mind, I kept everything. So I had a 300-page document with probably 500 images of text messages and emails full of evidence of what happened. And so LifeWise, instead of providing evidence to the investigator that they did not do it, which they don't have, it doesn't exist, which is why they didn't provide it. Instead of doing that, they responded by filing a writ of mandamus in the Ohio Supreme Court. And the writ of mandamus, it's a pretty extreme legal procedure, but it's basically saying you can't investigate us because we are a church.
It's a ministerial exemption, right?
So
something
they instead of just fixing some of the actual real life problems that LifeWise has with their infrastructure, which you jumped ahead and said you wanted to have better protections for the children to make sure that the teachers were safe, which is a great idea. Instead of wanting to do any of that, they jumped to the Supreme Court to stop you. My guess is it appears to be that is where some of their money is going, Zach, is legal stuff. What do you think?
100%. They actually have a fund. They have a legal fund you can donate to specifically. Yeah.
What did you say?
They have a legal fund you can donate to. When you go look at some of their donation campaigns, their legal fund is one of them.
Oh, wow. That is wild.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So they file that. Has anything happened with the Supreme Court thing? Did that go through?
Yes. Well, what happened was, so they said to the Ohio Civil Rights Commission, you can't investigate us. So the Ohio Civil Rights Commission reached out to us and said, hey, they are trying to, I don't know what the right word is, but basically it would be like an injunction to stop them from investigating. So they're trying to stop us from investigating this case. So our only option at this point is if you withdraw the complaint and we can give you a letter of right to sue, and then we can just say it's a moot point. So, and then you can proceed a lawsuit, like on your own. And so that's what my attorney and I chose to do, because for me, it is whatever we can do to get the word out about them. And if that means that I spend a bunch of money in attorney fees trying to hold them accountable, then that's what it means. I think that if we would have let it run its course just with the conservative Supreme Court justices we have in Ohio. I'm not sure what would have
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. Same with
So
Indiana too. Yeah.
It would have
Yeah,
been
so
very bad precedent too. Like I think it's really important to kind of key in on how big of a scope a ministerial exemption could be. They are
mhm,
basically saying because we're a church, none of this government oversight can be applied to us, right? So if the Supreme Court would have granted them that, it wouldn't have just been on this one specific issue of time
right,
cards, right? It would have broadened to everything.
Yeah. And
And
yes.
this
they
is
already claimed
happening
to have it.
during the school day, during public government funded education. Yes, the location has changed, but you're pulling kids out of this. So, yeah, what you're saying is that so the fact that they tried to do that is scary,
In and
honestly.
of itself is
It's a
concerning.
Christian
Yeah.
nationalist, it's this push for Christian nationalism. Um, so Rachel, I cannot thank you enough for doing what you're doing. You are a hero in my eyes because you were trying to do something for the right reasons for something you believed in. You saw lies, you saw problems, you tried to get them fixed. Um,
Mhm,
and you chose not to take money in an NDA and sign a non-disclosure agreement. You're fighting this to try to raise awareness. You're coming on this show. You're meeting me for the first time and doing this live show, which is very brave of you. Thank you. Thank you. Because this is the main problem. Zach and Molly and I were talking about this. The main problem is it's using so many good people to do this. And whenever we say things like, I make an opinion statement like LifeWise is bad, sometimes some of my own friends come at me and say, how dare you? This is my church. These are good people. These are wonderful people. How dare you say this is bad? And it's like, I'm not saying you're bad.
mhm,
Look at you, Rachel. You're clearly a wonderful person. It's not you're bad. This institution, this organization that's saying they're doing these good things, this group, in my opinion, is bad. So, you coming on and sharing your story helps explain this delicate problem. We have to protect our children from this program from LifeWise. And we also even need to be protecting the people like you that are trying to do a good thing and get hurt in the process. And then you realize, oh, they're not doing what they're saying they're doing.
mhm. Yeah. And all the people that are good folks that are kind-hearted and well-meaning and think they're doing something good, they're being exploited. So it's not even just, I mean, it's like so many victims. It's just
So many victims and so
incredible.
much money loss. And that's,
Yes, yeah,
it's not like LifeWise is the first group to do this. There are a lot of
right.
nonprofits out there that do maybe some good work, but bad people have gotten in charge and run them,
Mhm.
and they're making a profit off of it, and they're encouraging their volunteers to do this for free, and they're trying to get less employee, paid people. This happens at in a lot of nonprofits. So it's not just LifeWise. Um, Good people don't realize that there are bad people running stuff and we should be cautious. I get tricked. I'm very aware of this, Rachel. I'm very aware that there are bad people that run things and I still get tricked as a 45-year-old. So it's just it's hard because they're very good because they don't have a problem with lying.
Right.
They say the thing you want to hear and you
Mhm.
look at them and you believe them. And is that really make you a bad person? No, it doesn't make you bad. But like, do you know like 1 in 10 people, they think 1 in 10 people are narcissistic sociopathic, meaning they don't have empathy for others and they really only care about themselves. 1 in 10 is what we think it is. These are the type of people running these organizations, making a profit, saying these lies, and they're tricky to find out. It takes a
Right.
little while to figure it out. And that's the good thing about social media. It's a good thing about Project Next. It's a good thing about Secular Education Association. We can get the word out. Um, it is hard because there's a lot of bad stuff going on. So, you came into running LifeWise to working for LifeWise for good reasons. You're
Mhm.
doing, something that Zach and I are also trying to do. We're trying to protect children. Um, so it's just sad, and we can't shuffle it under a rug and act like it didn't happen. That's what LifeWise does. They try to shut up the people that have been hurt.
Right.
And the fact that you are saying no to that is really honorable. And I'm just thankful. Thank you for doing that.
I think the other part of that is they don't just try to shut up the people that, you know, are speaking out. They label them as demons and villains, right? So
Uh,
how many LifeWise employees may watch this and see Rachel's story and just think, well, you know, she's been possessed or whatever kind of crazy nonsense. You know what
Have
I
you been
mean?
called anything by LifeWise people? Have you had any negative comments or words from anybody in this group since this has happened?
yeah. I mean, I lost a lot of friends because they just really want to believe, they want to put their head in the sand and just believe everything they're told. And so, yeah, I lost a lot of friends. I had relationships that I valued and I thought were good relationships that were with other volunteers from the original program that I was in, the after school program.
Mhm.
And those people have said really hurtful things, and just false accusations that are not accurate. LifeWise, in that 28-page writ of mandamus, they called my character into question quite a few times. I think there were 19 lies about me in that. And so, anybody that believes that instead of the actual truth is not going to think very much of me. And so, yeah, it's been really hurtful in that way. But
That
what
would
I
be
just
hurt.
have,
If I were you, that would also be very hurtful. I'm sorry you're going through that. That would be
yeah,
hard. Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
things that I remind myself, and I think me and Zach talked about this recently, actually, is that when someone lies about me, it doesn't say anything about me. It it shows
It's
more about their
It
character.
shows about them. As a
Yeah.
person who runs for office and who has started their own media company, there's been many, many fake things about me in the last
Mhm.
like year or so. And I think that's really good advice. It's not about me, it's them. They're
Mhm.
projecting their own fear and hate and whatever things going on in their own life onto me, the public person. It's not about me, it's about them. And with you, they don't want to accept that what you're saying is truthful.
Right.
If they realize that what you're saying, that these people lie, that these people are in it to make money, that they're not in it to do the things that they're saying they're doing, to believe that is very painful for them. They'd have to admit they were duped, that they were tricked.
Yeah.
And a lot of humans don't like to do that. So instead of realizing and reflecting, and also they'd have to leave a culture that they feel comfortable in, just like
Hmm.
you had to leave. You lost a lot of friends in this community. So, they don't want that to happen like they see it happening to you. So they just keep believing the lie because that's less painful for them. And that's sad because in the long run, what do we need to do? We need to protect children.
Hmm.
And we need to protect the nice people like yourself that are, all these people that are dumping money into this program to keep it going. We need to protect them. This is they're gonna have to every single time there's a LifeWise class, they're having to pay for gas. They're having to pay the $15 or whatever it is an hour for these teachers. So the fact that it's coming from the community, it's gonna keep hurting the community.
Yep.
And they can't even give it back when something happens to that community. I mean, I think that story about the hurricane pissed me off more than anything else in this interview. It's just obscene, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, I would love to do another show if there's anything that happens with this, with you getting a lawyer and with you trying to sue them.
Mhm.
I wish you and your lawyer good luck.
Thank
It's
you.
I'm very proud of you and thankful, and I hope it gets a ton of coverage. I hope that a lot of people realize the truth. Let's just get the
Yeah,
truth out there. And
Been a
that's
lot of litigation over the past couple years for this Christian organization. That's all I'm saying. A
yeah.
whole lot of
including you
litigation.
yourself, Zach. You were
Me,
sued for
Rachel,
what?
Washington. Yeah, I mean, there's just quite a few cases over a couple years for this good,
Yeah.
honest Christian organization.
Doesn't that sound if you were just learning about LifeWise and you thought they were great, Rachel, and then you hear Zach's story where he just published the curriculum online and LifeWise sued him for it, would that be an alarm bell? It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If you're so great and you're doing this great, warm, fuzzy, sweet Bible study that all these churches agree with, why can't you put the curriculum online for people to see it easily?
Right. As an educator and as a mom, I think if there's something you're telling my kid and you don't want me to know about it, that sounds like something predators do. Like, you don't get access to my kid. And so
Yeah.
it is shocking to me, but I think there's just a limited awareness. I
Yeah.
don't think so many people are aware of what happened to Zach, and hardly anyone's aware of what happened to me, or for some reason, the little girl who got lost. I don't know how there's not awareness about that, but
Did you all hear about that? I guess you were already out by then. I don't know, but like, yeah, they're not saying it at the conference. I know that. They're not going at the conference and saying, listen, we sued this guy named Zach Parrish, and then this girl got lost. They're not saying that. They're just
that's why we go and protest their conference. I mean, we're going to stand out there and say it. So
that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. I know that there's a lot of people in my area alone that are fighting LifeWise. There's quite a few. They connected me to Zach. And that's how we got these shows going. So do have hope. There are a lot of parents that they only know Project Next because they watch the LifeWise shows. So I just want you to know there are a lot of people trying to protect our kids. But we're up against a big machine that, again, will just go right to the Supreme Court of your state to try to do something pretty gutsy. So, I do think we're in this. It's going to take a few years, but we can battle it school by school. And that's what we need to do right now until we can get bigger action. And then we need lawsuits like the one you're going to get in, but we need those. We need those to shine a light out to what's happening. So so I would invite you back. So just, contact Zach if anything happens, and we can have you on again to update everybody. And if there's any other former LifeWise employees, or if you are a LifeWise employee and you're watching this, please don't sign an NDA so that you can talk, and reach out to Secular Education. Go to seculareducation.org. There's plenty of places where you can reach out to Zach and Molly, and they will help you because they fought them before. They know what goes on and they can help you. And I'm really glad that you, Rachel, got connected with Zach. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, we want to help share these stories. That's the whole point, right? We want to give a voice to those who need that voice amplified, right? And, we have made the platform that we're able to do that, thankfully, with the help of you and so many other people. So yeah, please reach out to us. We're happy to keep people anonymous if they need to be anonymous, but tell us your story. Tell us what you've dealt with. Tell us what you're involved in. We're happy to help in any way we can. So.
And that website of yours, Zach, the seculareducation.org, doesn't just have that great map. It has a lot of resources. It has a lot of what exactly you can do. What letter could you take to your school board to let them know what LifeWise is? You don't have to come up with it yourself. They've already provided the resources. So go to that website. It's really wonderful, and use it to help navigate. I would first find out, are they trying to get a LifeWise in your school? And then that's when you want to start alerting the school board members, the principal. I know when I took it to the local schools around here, they did not know of it. Now they do, or at least some of them do, but they didn't know before I did a show with Zach. So, we can all do our part to help spread awareness, and you are certainly doing yours, Rachel. I hope you guys have a great 4th of July weekend. It's an interesting time to celebrate 250 years. But, I am proud to be an American, and I'm very blessed to live here. And so I am very thankful, and I'm thankful I get to do this show and I get to speak my truth and have my friends on, and we're trying to make a difference and work together to make the community better. And to me, that's a big part of what America is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts before we get off here from either one of you?
No, I just want to say thank you to Rachel. I can't imagine, I went through my own battle with LifeWise, but I didn't lose friends over it. And I can't imagine how hard that must be and the bravery it takes to stand up and lose your community like this. So,
and you'll get more community. There are people out there. You seem like a wonderful person. So I hope you can find a better community that accepts you for you and the truth, some truth people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate Zach and a lot of the folks that I've met in the last year or so, just kind of fighting this fight. I have had so much amazing support, and I'm very appreciative of that as well.
I'm glad to hear that. That makes me happy. Yeah. Oh, you guys have a wonderful weekend. It was so nice to meet you, Rachel, and thank you for contacting me, Zach. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Love you guys. Please share this show with someone that it could benefit. Have a great weekend.